Emma woke up feeling nervous. The room was cold and quiet. She looked at her golden ring. It felt heavy but beautiful today. Daniel was not beside her anymore. She sat up in bed slowly. White curtains moved in the breeze. Rose petals covered the wooden floor. Everything smelled like flowers and love. But where had Daniel gone now? She checked her phone. 7 a.m. No message, no note, nothing there. Her heart felt a little strange. She stood up and looked around. The cottage was silent and empty. Emma walked into the cold kitchen. She put the kettle on quietly. Steam rose slowly from the cup. Outside the window York was waking. People walked dogs on cobblestone streets. She heard a sound behind her. It came from the locked door. A small door in the hallway. She had not noticed it before. It was dark and very old. Emma walked slowly toward the door. She knocked softly. No one answered. She tried the handle. It locked. Her hands were shaking a little. Her mind was full of questions. She pressed her ear to wood. She could hear a quiet voice. It was Daniel, talking to someone. But why was the door locked? Why did he not tell her? She stepped back into the hallway. Her thoughts were running very fast. She barely knew Daniel, not really. 2 years felt long but short. Marriage was different from just dating. She sat on the bed alone. She stared hard at her ring. It sparkled in the morning light. She took one long and deep breath. She told herself to stay calm. Then the front door opened suddenly. Cold air rushed through the cottage. Daniel walked in wearing his coat. His cheeks were red from cold. He was carrying coffee and breakfast. He smiled when he saw her. That warm smile she always loved. He placed the coffee beside her. "Good morning, Mrs. Hayes," he said softly. Emma looked at him very carefully. "Where were you?" she asked quietly. "I went to get us breakfast." He laughed gently and sat down. Emma felt some tension leave her. But not completely, not quite yet. "Daniel," she said slowly and carefully. "What is behind that locked door?" He stopped moving for 1 second. Just 1 second, but she noticed. Something flashed quickly across his face. It was not guilt or fear. It looked more like quiet nervousness. He placed his coffee cup down. He looked at her very directly. "I wanted to wait until tonight. But I suppose now is fine." Emma said, "Daniel, you are scaring me." He reached out and took her hand. "It is nothing bad, I promise." He pulled out a small key. It was old and brass-colored. He held it out to her. "Come with me," he said simply. They walked together down the hallway. Emma's heart was beating very fast. Daniel put the key in slowly. He turned it and the door opened. It made a soft quiet creak. Emma stepped inside and she gasped. The small room was warm and golden. A single lamp glowed in corner. And on every wall, photographs. Dozens and dozens of photographs everywhere. Every single one showed Emma and Daniel. Every memory from 2 beautiful years. Their first date in Manchester restaurant. The rainy day they got lost. Christmas morning with her family together. The proposal beside the River Thames. Every moment, perfectly printed and framed. In the center was a table. One red rose sat in glass. Beside it lay a folded letter. Her name was written on front. Written in Daniel's careful handwriting. Emma could not say one word. Her eyes slowly filled with tears. "I called the cottage owner," Daniel said. 3 months ago I planned this. She let me send photos ahead." Emma turned slowly and looked at him. Tears were running down her cheeks. "You did all of this," she whispered. "You gave me 2 perfect years. I wanted this morning to matter." Emma picked up the letter carefully. Her hands were shaking very slightly. She unfolded it and began reading. Every single word was warm and honest. Every line made her cry more. The letter said he was afraid. Afraid of life before he met her. Then she walked into his coffee shop. She sat at the wrong table. And argued with him for minutes. He said it was his table. She said it was definitely hers. He let her have it anyway. Because even then he already knew. He knew she was the one. He wrote about their future together. A quiet house outside of London. Maybe a dog, maybe more someday. He wanted every day to feel warm. He signed it, "Your Daniel always." Then added one funny last line. P.S. It was definitely my table. Emma laughed and cried together simultaneously. That strange feeling of a full heart. Only love can make you feel that. They sat on the floor together. They looked at every single photograph. They talked and laughed for hours. About memories, about fears, about dreams, about everything that marriage really means. In the afternoon they walked outside. York was cold and grey and beautiful. They crossed the old medieval city walls. They looked out over the rooftops together. They shared chips from a paper bag. They laughed like two happy children. Like people with nowhere else to be. Like two people completely in love. The cold wind blew around them. But they felt only warmth inside. That evening they sat by fire. The flames crackled orange and gold. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. The room smelled like wood and warmth. Outside the night was dark and quiet. "Daniel," she said very softly then. "I am not afraid anymore now." "Afraid of what?" he asked gently. "Of marriage," she said simply and honestly. "I was nervous this whole morning. When you were gone I panicked. Every fear came rushing inside me." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "So was I," he finally admitted. "Walking to the cafe this morning, I thought, what if I fail? What if I am not enough?" Emma looked up at him gently. "You brought coffee and a room full of every memory we made. I think you are doing well." He laughed his quiet, honest laugh. "We will both make many mistakes. But we will figure it out. Together, always together," she said firmly. He kissed the top of her head. "Together," he said, just one word. That one word felt like everything. Like a promise and a home together. Like the beginning of a beautiful life. Just before midnight her phone lit up. A message from an unknown number arrived. It said only, "Check the garden." Emma looked at Daniel. He smiled. She already knew it was him. She pulled her coat on quickly. She stepped outside into cold dark air. She looked up and could not breathe. The entire garden glowed with lanterns. Tiny flames hung from every tree. They sat along the old stone walls. They lined the cobblestone garden path beautifully. The whole garden was warm and magical. Daniel stood in the middle waiting. He held one final lantern gently. "I had help," he admitted quietly. "The cottage owner, she is patient." Emma walked slowly through the lantern light. Her eyes reflected 100 warm flames. "This is too much," she whispered softly. "No," he said looking at her. "This is exactly and perfectly enough." He held the lantern between them both. Its light was steady in cold air. The whole world felt still and warm. Emma looked at Daniel in the light. She thought about the morning's fear. She thought about the locked mysterious door. She thought about the room full of memories. She thought about the letter he wrote. And she knew, completely and surely, whatever came next in their life together, whatever mistakes or storms or hard days, whatever challenges marriage would bring them both, she was exactly where she belonged now. The lanterns glowed softly around them both. York was quiet and dark and cold. But they were warm, completely warm inside. She took his hand in the garden. And their life together truly began.